in all the busyness, can we talk about making time and making it a priority to date your spouse? I have absolutely found so much benefit in making sure that Taylor and I make time to date each other. We are on 21 years, and I truly believe that one of the secrets of why we still really love being around each other is making time to date each other. Now, I know some of the things you are thinking because I've thought them and I've had enough conversations and heard other people think about them too, which is, where am I supposed to find the time? How am I supposed to afford it? How am I supposed to find childcare? Or maybe yours is, I'm going to be honest, date nights aren't that fun. It feels kind of stale. How do I infuse the fun? And we are going to talk about all of that in this episode. So this episode, I am bringing in Camille Whitting. She runs the popular blog and Instagram, Friday We're in Love. And her story is a tale of marriage-phobic MBA grad meets rocket scientist, like legitimately, who convinces her to believe in love again. A pact was made before they were even married, 1 date a week, no matter what, to keep love alive. This spawned Friday, We're in Love, a lifestyle blog with an emphasis on dating, marriage, and family, with a fun date night every Friday. And she gives all of these ideas, which are so helpful for the rest of us. Camille is an infertility miracle mom and always finding the next fun experience to inspire others to get out and date more. She has been featured in Women's Day, Southern Living, The Pioneer Woman, The Huffington Post, The Arizona Republic, and Brit & Co. So many amazing places. And today she is on the Balancing Busy podcast talking with me about how we make dating our spouse a priority and how we make it more fun. We are getting into all of the details. Let's jump in. Camille Whitting, I am so excited to have you on the podcast today because you write the blog Friday We're in Love, and dating our spouse ongoing is so important. But this podcast is called Balancing Busy. So trying to find time to date our spouse can feel hard. So let's just start right off. Will you just share with us why you believe that dating your spouse is so important, and what does that mean to you?
Okay. Well, it means everything to me. We started Friday We're in Love for a very personal reason. I had actually been previously married. I have like a made-for-TV movie. If you really want to get curious about it, you can go into the blog and read a few of the archives where I've shared a couple things. But I'd previously been married, had gone through a lot of abuse, and I had watched something I thought was going to be forever crumble pretty quickly. And one thing I noticed was just a lot of the happiness, it seemed like it left really quickly. So I came out of that very unexpectedly divorced at a very young age. And when I met my husband, Jacob, he was like everything I didn't know a guy could be. He was just amazing. He's so sweet. He's so wonderful. But I was still really worried. I was like, I know we're both kind, compassionate people. I know we're both loyal people. I know we both really believe in love, but I kind of viewed most marriages as this business relationship pretty quickly. Maybe it was my cynical lens of everything I had been through, but even my parents are happily married, and I truly viewed them as maybe the one exception to so many couples I knew who just kind of seemed like business partners, honestly. And so I was terrified of that. So my husband and I did some premarital counseling, and we were challenged to go on 1 date every week, no matter what. And we were incredibly busy people at this time. I was getting my MBA. I'd actually had a full-time job also towards the end of my program. And I'm dating, planning a wedding, all these things. I don't even know how I stayed alive with that busy time in my life. But I realized pretty quickly that as we prioritized our time together, our relationship was different, and it was so meaningful, and it was so wonderful. And so we decided we didn't really want that to end. We didn't want those feelings of engagement, newlywed bliss to ever go away. And through counseling, we were like, date night really is, it sounds oversimplified. And I know it's not the panacea to every problem in a relationship, but it really is one of the small secret sauce items that takes relationships from okay to amazing.
I could not agree more. So I felt very cynical going into marriage as well. only because I hadn't seen examples of great marriages. I couldn't really think of any marriages that I had seen in my growing up life that actually looked happy. I saw a lot of divorce. I saw a lot of bitterness. And even when I saw the people who were still together, which was, a couple of my friends' parents, and some different people, I'm like, they don't look happy, or like they have fun together, or like they like being around each other. So I was super, super cynical as well. And I met my husband, and, I would say, if I'm being 100% honest, I didn't even believe in love when I met him. And then as I got to know him, I was like, this is amazing. Is this real? Is this gonna stay this way? Yeah. And he really is amazing. And we were given counsel from married people that he had seen as beautiful examples that really counseled us to date each other. In fact, I know this isn't, not everyone gets this lucky, but my mother-in-law told us right at the very beginning of our marriage, before we even obviously had kids, that dating each other was going to be so, so important, and that she wanted us to have regular dates. She would watch the kids, and even she wanted us to get away, just the two of us, 1 week a year, and that she would watch the kids, which I know that is not everybody's.
I know. So lucky. I need
so
someone
lucky
like that in my life too.
It's amazing. So I have felt the same way, where I have realized and recognized that dating your spouse ongoing is so, so critical. Yep. So we know that part, but I want to start by just talking about, first of all, how we make the time to do that, because it's exactly what you said. You were so busy when you started this challenge, and I love that you use the word prioritize. We're totally going to, dig into that. Yeah. But how do you find the time? And I'll share as well after, but how do you find that time to regularly date your spouse when life is so hard, and especially when kids come into the mix and you got to find babysitters and, all those other things?
Well, first of all, it's got to be a mentality, right? You will find time for anything you really want. I learned that dating my husband, right? I'm so busy with basically 2 full-time jobs, full-time MBA program, full-time working. And then all of a sudden this guy comes in, and I often wouldn't get out of class until 10 p.m. And we would find 30, 45 minutes. He would come meet me on campus, and we would go for a walk and talk. We would find these little teeny pockets of time that we could date each other. And I think if you decide you're too busy, you're going to be too busy. If you decide this is something that matters to me, you are going to find time. I have found couples in the most almost impossible situations that really do have every excuse, still find time to date. Let me give you one example. I had a coworker once. They had 3 little kids, and their wife was pregnant with a 4th. She was getting her doctorate degree, I believe. She was becoming a doctor. She's in her 3rd year. She's incredibly busy. He is running a marketing agency, and they just were crazy all the time, right? They really had limited resource, limited time, all the things. She had 1 day a week. She was nearby our office, and he would ask me to cover an hour with his clients so that he could go take an extended 2-hour lunch and actually date his wife every week. And I was like,
I love that.
Absolutely. I watched them going, you can find time, right? You can find your way. If you want it, you will make it happen. So I feel that's the first part, is just get a date night mentality. Be we will make this happen. We are super busy, but can we fit it in? Where can we fit it in? Even if it is a once a week lunch date, because that's what you can do at this phase of life. Okay.
I so agree. So good. If it's a priority, you're going to make it happen. So you together need to make it that priority. This is not negotiable. This is a must. Now, I know that the very next question that comes for so many is for all those who have kids who are in the age where you can't just leave them. Yeah. Someone needs to care for them. They're you don't understand my situation. I can't tell you, because I've had this conversation many, many times. I am a firm believer in date night. This has come up at a lot of conferences I've spoke at, retreats I've hosted, and they try to say to me, but you don't understand my situation. I don't have access to anyone to help me with my kids. So let's get into that
Yes.
one. Like, how do
Let's
we
talk about that? Okay.
Yeah, let's get
Okay.
into this and get rid of those myths, those beliefs that it's like, oh, it's not possible for me.
Okay. So we have like wonderful, wonderful parents, but one lives far away and one, like, my parents actually don't live far from us, but they both worked full time when we had our first child. Like, and I have a lot of siblings, a lot of needs, a lot of things. Anyway, I actually had to ask my mom when my son was like 1.5. I was like, do you realize you've babysat him one time in 1.5 years? I don't say that to like make my mom feel guilty. She just was in a season of life like we were low priority.
Yeah.
And that sounds awful too, but she just was busy and we were like, we got to figure other things out. I think the mentality of your parents owe you babysitting like has to go. You need to figure this out on your own. Like if they volunteer, fantastic. Anytime our parents are like, yes, we can help you. For the record, my mom does watch our kids quite a bit more. We are like flying out of town for a concert this week. And she's like, oh, I'll take your kids overnight. Like I'm now in a season where I'm like, okay, we're getting a little more help, but I think it comes and goes. And I think you have to prep for the seasons when it's not there, when they're busy, when they can't do it. A lot of people do not have parent like help, support whatsoever. So it is something where you kind of need to like bite the bullet and be like, childcare is a thing and I need to find a good babysitter and I need to make this happen. I have a system for you though. If you're like, we can't afford a babysitter, the babysitter will take all of our budget. I also don't think that's an excuse because there are so many free dates you can do. Like put your budget in the babysitter and go do something completely free. Like that's one thing. But I have a post on my blog all about this, but it's called how we make date night happen with a baby. This is how we figured it out. We had a 4-week system that worked really well for us. Once a week, we went ahead and like splurged. We went all out. We paid for a babysitter. We paid for an expensive date. We made sure we had like at least once a month, an awesome stereotypical go out, leave the kids like date night. Once a week, we did a swap with friends. I'm sorry, once a month. We would like swap with friends. Find a friend that you trust with kids your age, an aunt, a neighbor, one of your kids' best friends. Like, see if you can swap. They look forward to the play dates when you have the kids come to your house, and then you also like get a night with the free childcare. Once a month, we do a date night at home. I know for some people, date night at home is like totally their jam. I'm going to be totally honest; it is not ours. We like fall asleep on the couch. We have to mix it up. We have to like go outside. We do car dates sometimes, or we go like take food out in our car just so it feels different. Oh my word. That's how we like survived the pandemic. We like did a lot of car dates and we did a lot of like backyard dates and things, but we do it at home. We get creative and we find a date that like actually works at home. And then we do usually ask for help. We see if like a parent or an aunt or uncle or somebody can help us like the 4th week. And if we can't get that, we take our kids with us and we just include them in a family date. I think that becomes the default. So you want to like try to prioritize you first. But I don't think there's anything wrong with your kids seeing what it's like to go on a date and have fun with you and know that like mom and dad are happy together and we're also going to enjoy a fun activity as a family. So
I love that.
Super well for us to be like once a month kids, once a month at home, and 2 other nights we're like figuring out date night out on the town one way or another.
Oh, I love that. And I always say this, but I love hearing how other people do things, right? Because that's how we all get inspired and we get ideas and we're like, oh, okay, those are so good. So the way we've kind of done ours is, first of all, we have incredible parents who help with our kids, but we have not lived near them almost ever. So we lived near them for the first 4 months of our first being born, which was incredibly helpful. But then we moved to Hawaii to finish up undergrad. So obviously no family nearby. And you know what? It was amazing. Friends would help out. We would ask, like, will someone watch for just a couple hours? And during that season, we were one of the only ones with a baby. So others were really sweet to help because they just enjoyed the baby time. But as we got closer to graduation, more started to have them and we did the trading. Then we went to graduate school, and that was in Portland, Oregon. Well, graduate school, we had, no money. We had no money in undergrad either. Yeah. Let's be honest, right? But no money in graduate school. Again, trying to make date nights such a priority, but with really feeling like we have no money for a babysitter. So we created a group of 4 couples, and one Friday night a month, I'm not even going to lie, it was horrible. It was pandemonium all the kids were at our house. I can't remember. I think it was like 12 kids at our house. You were counting down the seconds until parents would come back and pick up their children. I mean, it was pandemonium, but it meant 3 other Friday nights that we had babysitters that we didn't have to pay for. So yes, the one that was ours was not fun, but we sucked it up and we did what we had to do, and we got to have regular date nights. Then when we finally do get out of school and we're starting to have some money, then absolutely we started paying for babysitters. And I will just say, we made sure we paid a little bit higher than everybody else and that we had the best snacks. Because there was often times where everybody was fighting for the same sitters, right? Like there's like this group of girls who were kind of the babysitting squad. And there's a bunch of people all wanting to do something. Sometimes it's a big friend group, right? And we're all trying to go the same thing. It's like, oh shoot, who's going to get the babysitters first?
Yes.
And so we made sure we paid a little bit better, and we always had really, really good snacks. And we're like, full, go into the pantry, go crazy.
Ooh, so can I give you one more tip?
Yeah.
Our babysitters are like, this is one thing we love that you do. We try to set up the babysitter for success too. Like, for example, I am not the biggest Play-Doh mom. It's like one of those sensory things that I'm like, oh, okay, good for you, but I don't love cleaning it up. I will like buy a Play-Doh kit or like save one, hoard one. And then when the babysitter comes, I'm like, here's a new Play-Doh kit. And my kids are like, what? And the babysitter looks like this hero because she has some fun new activity. I mean, whenever I find like sale, like little holiday craft things at like Michael's or Joann's or Target or whatever, I get a couple of those and I hoard them. And so I often hand like a fresh novel activity to the babysitter to be like, here you go. And the babysitter's like, wow, it's easy. It's fun. It's entertaining. And my kids like love the babysitters. They tell me all the time that has been like such a great little secret sauce that they like.
That is so good. Oh my gosh. I love that idea. Yeah. Everyone should take that. That is a good one. And that, like you said, it doesn't have to be expensive. Literally.
No, in fact, like, this is funny. We buy like after holiday clearance. Like our kids were making Halloween sugar cookies like at Christmas with one of our babysitters. And I'm like, they don't care. Like, have fun. Make all the skeleton pack cookies, whatever. Like, we buy a lot of those clearance things and they just have a good time with the babysitter.
That's brilliant. I'm totally imagining like shopping the end caps of the Target, aisles where all the clearance is and being like, yep, I'll take it. I'll take it. That's grabbing, a few of those little crafts at the dollar store. Oh, that is so good. Okay.
It works so well.
I love that. So here's what we've established so far. Number one, the only way dates are going to happen is if you make it a priority. You got to schedule it. You got to make it a priority. You got to just commit that you're going to do it. Number two, there is a way to go on dates. Whether you're saying, I can't afford babysitters, or you're saying, I don't know anyone. I mean, there are services where you can find someone who can babysit if you don't know anyone, or you can, connect with friends. There are ways, right? So we've established that there are ways to make sure your kids are cared for while you get away and have that time when you reconnect together. Now, I want to shift. And as we wrap this up, I want to talk about, for anyone who is saying and feeling like, I don't want to admit this, like, I don't want to raise my hand, but date nights feel kind of stale. Like, I think of the movie Date Night. If if you haven't seen that, you should watch that on a date night because that's a funny movie. But they're doing the same old thing, right? They go to the same restaurant or they go see a movie every time. It's just feeling stale. What would you offer as suggestions to help keep date night fun and new and vibrant and just feeling different?
Okay, so I've got 3, like right off the bat. Okay. So number 1 is, I think you should follow me, a shameless plug, but like follow Friday We're in Love on social media, on the blog. We even have an email list where we'll like send you fresh date ideas every single week. So if you need like new fun things, like follow us. We're a real couple going on real dates, like sharing the thick of all the things, sharing like seasonal things every week on Instagram. I do like 5 dates to do this week. So
I've been watching those and they're so fun. So I'm going to agree that if you need ideas, that is a great place to go.
One resource. I'm going to give one for those of you like truly in the trenches, like maybe even date night feels awkward or uncomfortable. You're not in a great place with your relationship. It just really isn't fun. This is the date I tell everyone to go on to reconnect. you should go to a comedy show or to an improv show. You need to go laugh together. Something happens when you have like the chemical release of endorphins that helps you feel more love. The oxytocin's going too. It's going to help you feel a little more connected, and it's going to break the ice. So I tell anyone that's like really, really stale, like go to one really funny comedy show and laugh together. It will reconnect you in ways like you couldn't even imagine. And along the same lines with like that dopamine hit is just the like, you need to do something new. You need to commit to it. I think as married couples, especially when we're together longer, we almost like enable each other to become like grumpy old people. Like, hear me out on this one, right? Like,
I agree.
You go to a restaurant and you're like, oh, they have some new menu item. And you're like, you don't like vegetables very much. And there's a few in there. So actually, let's just order what we order every single week. Like, we're kind of like, oh, wait, you don't like that. So why try anything new, or why push you like into anything new? Or I don't know, we just always want the other to be like comfortable, which I think is a great thing, but it's not good for our marriages and our relationship, because there is like scientific research that doing new things together like triggers different things in your brain, right? You have a chemical release, you have that adrenaline rush, you have that dopamine rush. Like, new experiences and new activities are what make that happen. And so if you are doing the same movie together, like even if movies are totally your jam, we like movies, we don't share movies a ton because I feel like that's the default that everybody does. But like, you need to find a way to mix that up. Go to a different theater. You need to have like your own little book club style discussion after, like, what did you like about it? What did you think? What did you learn? What was your favorite? Like, things like that. You can get a little creative, but I would say take a step back from like the place you always eat, take a step back from like the theater you always go to, like really, really, really shake up the routine. I know it's like one more thing to think of when you've already had to book the babysitter, you've already had to like find time in your busy schedules, you've already had to like cram in so many different things. It will make all the difference to actually like plan something new and novel, because that is like truly the secret sauce to unlocking all those brain chemicals that help you feel more love. So mentally get there, like make it happen.
No, so this was exactly going to be my answer too. Anyone who has ever been to any of my retreats, you just heard Camille completely confirm what I told all of you. So I have been preaching this forever. Novelty is so important in the dating process and with our spouse. So when we were, and I don't even know if this still exists. I kind of think maybe it doesn't, but back in our Portland days, so that was graduate school, I would check on like Living Social and Groupon. I think Groupon might still be around.
Groupon, definitely. Yes, they both exist.
So I used to go on those all the time. And if anything looked kind of interesting, I would just buy them. And then as we're coming up on date night, I'd be like, all right, we've got salsa lessons. We've got glass blowing. We've got this restaurant. We've got this. What do we want to do? And it was throwing us into all these very new situations. Here's why I think novelty is so critical. One of the hardest things is that you sort of start to feel like, we know everything about each other. We know all of each other's stories. We have the same conversations. And often, sometimes, even though we're trying so hard not to let this happen, they take a slight negative undertone because, you're talking about the problems that you're trying to deal with, trying to figure things out, talking about the kids, talking about work. We need to create more fun that we can talk about. And what I found so powerful is that when we were going to go do something totally new. So let's use dance lessons as one of the examples. All week, Taylor and I were chatting about like, oh my gosh, how do you think it's going to go? Oh, I'm really nervous, right? So it gave us new, fresh content. That's such a funny word to use when we're talking about dating, but it did. It gave us new, fresh content to talk about leading up to the date, which was really fun. Then we have the date. Now we have this really new, fresh stuff to talk about because we're cracking up laughing over like how bad we were and how the instructor just kept wanting to dance with Taylor and like, just like all these things. I mean, it was just so funny and it gave us so much new stuff to now talk about, which was so powerful. So this idea of infusing novelty, I think this just takes an added step of planning one time, maybe quarterly, right? It's not about like every week you got to be like, okay, I got to sit down and try to start researching what other things we can do. Just sit down once and I mean, a really interesting place to look that I think people wouldn't think of is go to Airbnb and look at the experiences section,
Yes, that's a
right?
great
Like,
place.
start
Yep.
looking at what all the experiences in your own town are. We have had so much fun doing everything from cooking classes to obviously dance lessons to
Yeah,
a million other different things that give us so much new stuff to talk about. Like, now we're not going like, oh,
absolutely.
this is kind of boring because we don't, we don't know what else to tell each other. Like, oh, did I tell you this? Oh yeah, you did. Dang it. Like, it just really helps
Right.
create those new conversations. So I agree.
I love
For
that.
anyone who's feeling like date nights are a little bit stale, I love your advice that if things are feeling a little bit hard right now, I love your idea about going and laughing. That I'm like, yes, that rings true. That is so great. And maybe that's going to be a couple times. Maybe you're going to do, one
Yes.
comedy club and then an improv. Like, maybe it's going to be a few laughing ones. You need a little more of that to like
They're
keep things.
different every time. That's like the good
Yeah.
news. You can do the same
Yeah.
thing a couple times and it will feel like novel with different jokes and different things. And it's just like a good, funny. And like if you're going, this sounds so fun, but also I really don't have the money. Like I talked to plenty of couples that I realize I'm coming from like a place of privilege that we do set this date night budget. Anything that you can do with money, you can find a free version. You can find, if you pay for like Netflix, there's always new comedian shows like on Netflix. So set up your home like you're going to the comedy show, right?
And then
do
watch
it then.
Brian Regan because he
Go to
is
exactly,
so
exactly.
stinking funny. He's
It's
so
so
good.
true. So like don't anything we suggest, anything we do, I have learned there is like a free equivalent. I know that sounds really funny, but a few years ago we went to London on like this huge trip. It was like I thought it would be our one big trip of our lifetime. And it wasn't, luckily. I've been lucky to do more, but at the time I was like, we have to do and see everything. And the more I researched it, the more I realized most museums in Europe do one free day a week. And so
Yeah,
we
they
tried to
do.
plan all of our events on the free day to save money. And when I came back to the US, I was like, whoa, in the US, it's more like once a month. Most of them do a free night once a month. But I'm like, anything that you're like, I don't have the money, like drop that excuse. There is a free equivalent, even if it's like Netflix has filmed it. You can see Taylor Swift on Netflix. Like, come on, you can do anything. Like, find a way to stream it, find the free nights. Like, but yes, comedy shows are always a good way to go. And don't let the high ticket price stray you away from trying that.
Oh, that's so good. Just doing a search for free activities in your city name and then start seeing what's available. And there's going to be ones around the holidays for sure.
Absolutely.
There's always some great ones in the summertime, like outdoor
Yes.
concerts and outdoor movies. And a lot of those are free. So I agree.
Yes.
These things exist and be looking for them. And then you're going to plan accordingly. Like, oh, the outdoor movie night happens to be Saturday on this day. Well, we know when
Yes.
date night is for that week.
And one of our things too is like, we're both project managers. So you'll have to excuse us if this sounds like OCD to a lot of people, but I think this audience, this community that is like busy and likes to schedule things will love this.
Yeah.
We have an actual Google calendar shared that is called date nights. And we put it, if we want to surprise each other, we'll put like Camille's turn or Jacob's turn. But typically we put it right on there. If we know like a new restaurant's opening, if we see a freebie, if we know that like the county fair is coming and we don't want to miss that, something like that, we just put it right on there. So we both have this like shared calendar that it's like, it's all there. And then we can see where there's holes to fill in also and buy those like Groupons and other things. But it's been one of the like big organizational things that's made regular date night and fun date night like very doable and a lot more organized for us.
I love that. I'm going to be like, yes, there is a spreadsheet for this or a Google sheet. That sounds fantastic.
I love it.
I love it. No, that is so great. And, the last thing I'm going to say is just that also shifting it up with doing group dates sometimes, right? Double dates,
Yeah.
group dates. That is another thing that creates some new novelty, gets you chatting with other people. Our date night this week is a group date where there's going to be 6 of us. And it's going to be, really fun. It shakes it up. The last several, for actually quite a while have really been more just the 2 of us. And so, this is going to be fun and different. So yeah, it's just finding ways to shake it up is amazing. Oh, this has been so good. Okay. Camille, is there anything that you want to share with us as we wrap this up?
I just want to basically bear the testimony of it. Like, we're 12 years into this project of going out every week. We have been through some of the hardest phases, like a colic baby where we really couldn't have a babysitter. a pandemic, right? Where there was like nowhere to go and we hate at
Yeah.
home we don't hate them, but we just don't do them as much. Like we've been through some of those seasons. We've been through job loss where we've been like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
how are we going to come up with things? Like whatever season of life you're in, if you get this date night mentality and make it happen and find free things, get creative, like even if it doesn't look ideal or like a movie or like a date night blog or whatever, like what matters is that you're putting in the effort and the time. And I can tell you that after over 12 years of marriage now, like I really do love my husband just as much or more than I did when we were newlyweds. We still feel this like deep connection and love. Like everything we set out to do, the more we do this, the more I'm like, yep, wisest like pre-marriage counseling ever. Go on a date, make it happen. Make sure in like the string of all the business things you do, all the negative things, all the adulting that isn't as fun, make sure you like put in those like pockets of fun memories and quality time together, because it's like exercise, right? I wish I could do it once and be like, good, I'm in shape. But it is something like you have to keep doing repeatedly. And date night really, truly is like, it sounds oversimplified. It's not the panacea to everything. I said at the beginning, I'll say it again, but it is one of those things that's like a small drop in your relationship, a small deposit in your relationship. You're like growing that 401k to like an amazing relationship. It works. I promise.
Amen. Amen. I am amening your testimony on the power of dating our spouse and making it a priority. And it is going to look so different in the different seasons, right? We are now on the cusp of within 4 years being empty nesters. And that's going to look so different then. And we have, experienced exactly what you said, literally everything from 3 kids, 3 years and younger, and trying to do date night in that scenario, to no money, to, a date night budget that was bigger than our food budget for the month. I mean, we've done it all. And we figured out how to do it. And I can say when we're prioritizing dates, we are better, right? Like that's the bottom line. When we prioritize dates, we're better. And so, this has been so good. And don't you think
it makes you better, like in every other area of your life too? Like I am a better mom. I am a better business owner. Like getting that fun little release every week actually makes me more productive in every other area of my life too.
It's filling our cup again. It's like, it's getting us, just shaking it all up and getting us out of our normal routine and doing something that just breaks it up and gives us something to look forward to, which is so powerful. Yeah, I do agree. I'm better in all areas when we are consistently dating and when we're being very intentional about dating, right? Mm-hmm. And I do think that is this tricky little component where you're not letting it become stale. You're being intentional about it, because otherwise it could feel like, I mean, I'm doing this, but I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it. And that's the same with anything. We gotta, just like your workout routine, sometimes you gotta shift that whole thing up, because otherwise you plateau. Same thing with dating. Like you gotta put that intention into it. And I'm gonna say it for Camille again. That intention can be so much easier by just following her on Instagram, being part of her newsletter, because she is giving so many ideas for dates. So that way you don't have to be scratching your head by yourself. So good.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Thank you so much for being on this episode with me, Camille. I had so much fun with you. I know this is going to be so powerful for others. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun.
I am feeling so inspired after talking with Camille about just date night and all the things around it. And I hope you are too. And here's what I want to leave you with. Start small. We are all about progress, not perfection. And, if you have been on a date night drought, then it doesn't need to be a flood. It doesn't need to be every single week. You can ease your way into this. It may just need to start with a real heart-to-heart conversation that sounds something like, I miss you, and I'd really like to go on a date. If I plan something, are you up for it? And when are you available? And then maybe you can follow that up with, and will you plan the next one? That really might be what it looks like. Now, I know we are all in different places. And I know for some listening, maybe you're struggling in your marriage. Maybe it's really hard right now and you're hearing all of this and it sounds so beautiful and wonderful and maybe so far out of reach. And I'm going to just encourage you to just start small, just 1%. I love Camille's idea about starting with humor, starting with something funny, watching a comedy show, going to improv, starting somewhere like that. And if you are just on the other end of the spectrum, how can you bring it up again, just 1% more, but for where you are right now? Everything else in life can change, but the goal and what we believe when we say I do is that the one constant is going to be our partner. And I'll tell you, I am now at the place in life where I am on the cusp of empty nesters. I mean, we have 4 years left. Our oldest goes off to college this September, and it's boom, 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 because, well, they're really close in age. And I am so, so grateful that in all of the things that I am worrying about, and I'll admit there's a lot, like our family dynamic is changing, and I'm not doing as great as with that as I'd like to say that I am. But one thing I know is that Taylor and I are strong, and that we, because of making each other a priority, and I'm going to be honest, he's so much better at it than I am, so much better at it. But because of that, throughout our whole marriage, that is not one of my fears. I remember hearing a lot of people talk about, all the kids leave and they find themselves in this moment of like, what do we have in common now if we don't have the kids? And you can get that back if that's where you are. I really do believe that. And if you're not there yet, start building that common ground now. And one of the best ways we do that is connecting on a one-to-one level. And that is through dating, going on dates, rebuilding that relationship with each other. I am so grateful for date night and what it has been for us through our whole marriage. Our ritual is 1 date a week, 1 overnighter, at least a quarter, and 1 week, just the two of us, a year. And that has been phenomenal for us, and it's meant so much. So I hope that this episode helps you. If you are loving this idea and you want to get friends to help you with it, like where you can kind of keep each other accountable and give each other ideas and maybe swap babysitting, share this episode with them. And together you guys can all work on your marriages and just doing better dating your spouse. Okay, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for being part of Balancing Busy. I am Leah Remillet, here to help you do less but better so that we can enjoy all the things and not have to compromise between our dreams and our health, our happiness, our home. Until next time, thank you again. I'll see you next week.